So, Mario has Bowser. We know his motives and plans, and we know him as a character with personality, which we can then decide on him either being a threat or comic relief at times. But Bowser is relatable, understandable, which allows you to form a connection to the character with him as an antagonist. And Bowser likes to form that relationship with Mario, many times taunting him in ways, often revealing his plans to him. He enjoys and yearns the experience of Mario chasing him. Then we have Link. Link has Ganon, a thief, a sorcerer, a raging pig demon. We know his motives. He desires the power of the gods, and at first this was as generic as a king. But with his background and character being fleshed out in Ocarina of Time, and especially his character, motives and origins being greatly enhanced in Wind Waker and later games, Ganon has now become a true villain with deep motives and reasons to his actions. And like Bowser, Ganon now yearns for the hero to face him, often drafting him into his own grand schemes. As players or consumers of good narrative, Ganon is now a character we yearn to meet and further understand. Now, I could mention other Nintendo games like Kid Icarus, who only in a somewhat recent Kid Icarus uprising on the Nintendo 3DS, and we can say that Pit has acquired some real antagonists, which also happens to have some of the best dialogue to come out of the House of Nintendo, or in this case the House of Zora, but you know what I mean.
Hello again, Pit.
Hades.
Pit.
Hades.
Pit.
Hades.
Yes.
Hades.
Hell, I could even mention somewhat subpar antagonists like Andros from the Star Fox series, or even King K. Rool from the Donkey Kong series, although we haven't seen King K. Rool in a DK game in decades, outside of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. What we know about both of those antagonists is that they have evident character, evident motives, and most importantly, a narrative that, as the player, as the protagonist, we can use as a narrative tool to want to move forwards with a goal within the games. But then we have Samus Aran in the Metroid series. Now, if you were to ask most people who Samus Aran's main antagonist was, you might start seeing issues. Some would answer the Metroids, of course. I mean, the entire series is named after them. Yes, the Metroids make sense for that reason, as well as being a driver for Samus's own motives. But then some people might say, well, actually, because this creature killed her parents, her main antagonist is Ridley, the hulking winged lizard demon who seems to appear in most of her adventures in some shape or form. Hell, even in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the second playable Metroid character ever was Ridley, after years and years of people begging for another Metroid character to appear. Some people might then say Dark Samus, considering that this was a doppelganger of Samus herself, who appeared in all the mainline Metroid Prime games as essentially the main antagonist to the hunter. Dark Samus has now also made an appearance in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, clearly a fan-favourite villain from the Metroid Prime series. Then even further, some might say the creature known as Mother Brain, or the Space Pirates, entities who have all made appearances in multiple Metroid titles, causing issues for the hunter as well as adding to her history. But do you want to know my issues with all of these entities? In my opinion, they all offer no tangible or relatable narrative drive for the player, let alone worthy narrative character arcs for Samus Aran herself, a character who I personally consider as Nintendo's, possibly as Nintendo's most important narrative persona. Why do I consider her the most important? Because as a protagonist, she's the only one who's developed a number of relatable and human-like character features for the most part, but which also in turn, thanks to this being a video game, a form of fantasy, puts it in the realms of, for us, a superhero straight out of a comic book. A character we all feel like we could be, but like all our heroes is imbued with a form of power, a means to defeat the demons of our own personal world, but also continue to struggle against these internal demons, whilst hiding behind a mask of hope when viewed by others. Samus is traumatized by her past, which greatly affects her character and the atmosphere of the world she's in. She wants to destroy her external demons, which she does, often on a planetary scale. But at the same time, she can't seem to fully let them go, due to them also being a part of who she is. We could mention other Nintendo characters who have started to develop over the years, like Princess Zelda as another example, but I still feel Samus is the character to really push a heavy storyline with. When we look into the narrative deeply like this, most of the mentioned antagonists seem to make sense, but this is where the actual games fail and where Samus ultimately has no real evident antagonist, which arguably leads onto the player not having an antagonist themselves. Until Metroid Prime introduced the in-game logs through scanning, up until that point, you had been fighting nothing more than nameless and motiveless monsters for the most part. Defeat the Metroid of this planet and its leader, Mother Brain. Defeat the Metroid on this planet just because they're dangerous monsters, except this one, which seems to like me because reasons. So I'll take it back to society because obviously nothing could go wrong there, right? And throughout all of this, let's throw in some seemingly random soulless monsters because hey, we're in outer space, it's a game and we need bosses, right? But this is the problem I have with most of the antagonists in the Metroid series. They're soulless monsters whose objectives are either too vague or virtually non-existent within the game world and narrative itself. This offers Samus nothing apart from being enemies to her during missions. I suppose to put into a movie perspective, it would be like you personally caring about King Kong if there was no damsel in distress and the giant ape lacked all kind of human emotion. Seeing the big guy falling to his death then would mean nothing to us apart from the fun of seeing a giant monster getting destroyed. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with that in the grand scheme of things. Hell, how many times have we felt bad when we defeated Bowser? Seeing him fall into lava. The difference with Bowser is that his character makes us laugh at his failed takeover the world attempt, because he's been joyfully taunting us through most of the adventure, plus we know he's not really being killed off in a horrible melting way due to the narrative of the game. And then there's Ganon, where for the first time in his history, I was almost on his side, knowing that he came from a harsh past, not of his doing. We like villains with relatable causes for their evil actions, at the end of the day. But when it comes to the characters in the Metroid series, like the Metroids, Ridley, Dark Samus, Mother Brain, and I'll get to the Space Pirates in a moment, these entities are the emotionless King Kongs. The creatures who simply want to destroy for the sake of destroying, show no real interest in Samus Aran at all outside of I want to kill her because she's in my lair, and offer no narrative or direction for the player to grasp onto outside of being a gameplay moment. Adding to the fact that up until Metroid Prime's data logs, none of these characters' names or motives were ever really mentioned in any of the Metroid games, actually within the games themselves. It wasn't until Metroid Prime where the Space Pirates themselves started getting some narrative character, mentioning their drives to find the new best energy source they can to take over the galaxy whilst battling the hunter Samus Aran, who seems to be more of a pain in their sides than any real narrative drive to engage with her or set all of their assets to hunt her down. These are of course antagonists, but they aren't the antagonists I'm now looking for, yearning for in a Metroid game. They're mere momentary enemies designed to move a loose story around that ultimately isn't linked to Samus Aran in any meaningful way outside of the now evident and heavier links to the Chozo, once again thanks to the Metroid Prime logs, or even outside of Dark Samus being a doppelganger of Samus, but ultimately also shows no real interest in the hunter, with it being more concerned in its own preservation. Now, this of course doesn't mean that I don't like these characters, seeing them and fighting them in game, far from it. Far from it. But what I would like to see is reason being given to them in game. Reason for them to be linked to Samus Aran, and reason for them both and Samus to pursue each other, to be intertwined with each other, just like Mario and Link are intertwined with Bowser and Ganon. I'm sure many people wouldn't be happy if Ganon continued to be the soulless monster that Calamity Ganon was, a creature devoid of all human emotion, which narratively we couldn't connect to. Those soulless King Kongs again, I suppose. In Metroid lore, Ridley is depicted as a commander of sorts in the space pirate army. Perhaps it's time to give this creature more clear intelligence. Visibly seeing him interacting with the space pirates, commanding them, who are clearly very intelligent based off the technology they use. Give the creature visible motives for killing Samus's parents. Let him taunt her, take Maud away from her, pull her into his plans for using the Metroids, or ultimately wanting the power of the Chozo, a civilization that might have destroyed Ridley's people, and he now yearns to destroy their only living child, Samus Aran. Then of course have him always escape in the final battle, or feel like he's defeated, but he then returns as Meta Ridley, even more determined to kill Samus and anyone who gets in his way. This is what I'd love to see in Metroid Prime 4, a real antagonist for Samus Aran with real motives, with real links, much like the sort of story I'd done for Metroid Prime 4, where I linked the hunter Silas to Samus in many ways, giving both her and him reasons to fight outside of the repeated narrative of monsters want to destroy the galaxy. Samus Aran deserves a clear and strong antagonist who pushes her through her adventures and ultimately pushes us through her adventures. So what are your thoughts? As always, thanks for listening, and I look forward to your replies.